Hi guys, I bring you here a tier list of all the pool 1 cards in Marvel Snap. And maybe you're thinking, another tier list of pool 1 cards, there must be 1,000 of those videos on YouTube. And you're right, but I will tell you why this tier list is different. First of all, most people that do tier lists don't know what they're doing, and I don't refer to specifically Marvel Snap tier lists. I'm not throwing shade at Marvel Snap people that make tier lists. I'm talking about tier lists in general, all of the tier lists in all of YouTube, because people just put whatever they like in the higher tiers and they don't think about the meaning that that has. Let me explain. They sometimes end up with almost all of the stuff in S tier, depending on whoever is making the tier list, or all of the stuff of or all of the stuff on the D tier. But that isn't how statistics work in the real world. A tier list should resemble a normal distribution statistically, you know, and it doesn't have to be an exact match of a normal distribution, but it should at least resemble one, you know, because if all the cards are overpowered, no card is overpowered, and if all the cards are shit, then no card is shit. And this translates to whatever people are making tier lists of. If all the movies are awesome, then no movie is awesome, because what are you doing there? Just what you like, and that isn't how things work. That is factor one. And factor two is that sometimes people just encapsulate pool 1 cards in the same pool 1 comparison, you know, comparing pool 1 cards to pool 1 cards. We will not do that here. We wanna know the true power of the cards, so I will rate them as if I've been rating all of the cards, because if a card is great, taking into consideration all of the cards in the game, then it is also great in just pool 1, you know. So that's how we will rate it. And of course, there is always, I'm not saying that I'm some objective judge that knows everything. I will rate them based on my personal taste, of course, but I will try to be impartial. And also, I know that I have to try to make a normal distribution so the tier list is as accurate as possible. And that's why this tier list is different from other tier lists. Also, I will be making it raw on the moment, just my honest opinion. I don't have a script, I don't have anything of that. I will just do the tier list right now, just as it is. So I hope you enjoy the tier list and that you like it, and I hope that you agree with it and that you learn what cards are good and what cards are not that good. And if you do, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. That will help me a lot. I upload videos every day. And you can come follow me on Twitch. I stream on Twitch live the game, and you can come and hang out. Thank you very much. You're awesome, and enjoy the tier list. So we start with Angel. Angel is a 1/2 that has the ability of coming from the deck if you destroy a card. In theory, it sounds like a pretty cool ability, but in practice, it isn't that great. Angel only really sees play on the death deck, and even then it isn't that great, because if you have him in hand, he won't trigger a lot. He doesn't offer a lot of points. His ability is pretty hard to trigger, and I really don't like it don't like him that much, but he isn't the worst either, so let's put it in C. AntMan is a great card. He appears in a lot of decks and in a lot of tier 1 decks, and you can easily trigger his ability, and when you do, it is a lot of power for a 1-drop. He's very flexible, I like him a lot, and I intended to put him in the S tier, but I will put him in A tier maybe later, depending on how our distribution is looking. I can put him in the S tier. And same as AntMan, Blade is also a great card. He is in almost all these card decks. He has a very strong stat line in the 1/3, and they were thinking, well, if we are going to discard a card, let's give him a lot of power. But more often than not, the discard is something good instead of something bad. So Blade is an A card for sure. I'm trying to go quickly because there's a lot of cards and I don't want to spend too much time on each card. Electra is a great 1-drop. You can deny 1-drop from the enemy. She finds a place in a lot of decks. You can put it in a control deck. You can put it in a on reveal deck if you want to trigger her twice. And you can destroy some pretty big things like an AntMan. You can destroy a big Sunspot. That is great. But at the same time, she's pretty weak. If you don't find a cool target, she's pretty useless. So I will put her in the B because she's good but not that good. Hawkeye. Some people like Hawkeye a lot because you can trigger his ability pretty easily. But I really don't like Hawkeye. I think his ability sucks, and I think that you give too much knowledge to your opponent, knowing where are you going to play next. He could land in the B tier. I would personally put him in the C tier, but let's put it in the B tier because he can be good in the right position. The same goes for Iron Fist. Yes, he is strong in certain decks, in movement decks, and when you move the right thing, Iron Fist is great. But if not, he sucks. If you playing outside of a movement deck, he sucks. Even playing him in a movement deck, sometimes you don't have anything to move because you don't have the right draws. So that makes him pretty weak. But in the right circumstances, he can be pretty strong. So let's put him in the B tier. Korg. I love Korg. It is one of my favorite turn 1 plays because you slap Korg on the turn 1, and through the game they have a lot of probabilities of drawing the rock, and there is nothing that tilts me more than drawing a fucking rock. So if you do that to the opponent, you are going to tilt them. That is a dead draw practically, and 1-2 in the first turn is pretty good. So I like Korg, and I will put him in the A tier. Mantis is great. Her ability is great, and she has pretty cool stats lines for what she do. But you have to know where he's going to play, and that isn't always easy to do. And if you don't, she's just an angel, you know. She sucks if you don't know where he's going to play. So just by that, I can put her in the A tier. So we're gonna put her in the B tier. But I like that card. Misty Knight. Well, Misty Knight is just a vanilla card. She doesn't have any ability. And that means that her only real utility is playing her in a Patriot deck. In the Patriot deck, she's pretty strong. She's a pretty cool card, and you will find her in almost all of Patriot decks. But outside of Patriot decks, she sucks. So I can't even give her a B. I must give her a C. I know that people will say, well, she doesn't have an ability, she belongs in D, but she is good in a Patriot deck, and Patriot decks are pretty strong right now at the moment that I'm recording this video. So I will give Misty Knight a C just because she can find a place in a competitive deck. Nightcrawler. In my opinion, Nightcrawler is one of the best, if not the best, 1-cost cards in the game. I'm really tempted to put him in the S position, in the S tier. But I don't know is that prudent yet, because Nightcrawler is really strong. You can steal locations easily with Nightcrawler. Your opponent never knows when you're going to move him. You can move into locations that are locked, that the opponent cannot push any more power there, and you can move in there. You can trigger cards like Angela one more time. Nightcrawler has a lot of uses. He's cool in a lot of decks, not only on a movement deck, that is a great play for him, but he is in a lot of competitive decks. So I will like to place him in the S tier, but I will put him in the top A. By the way, I was not ordering the cards like by power in the same tier, but I will put Nightcrawler in the first slot because maybe when I see how the tier list is evolving, I move into the S tier. But I don't know. For now, I will put him at the top of the A tier. Nova. Nova is an awesome card and everybody knows it. He was even nerfed because before he gave 2 power when he was destroyed to every other card you have in the board. But now he only gives 1 power and he continues to be awesome. So I will put him in the A position. He finds a place in a lot of decks. Of course, he's good in a destroyer deck, but he's also good in the death in the Death Wave deck, and he's also good on another type of decks that they only have a couple of destroy cards used to take advantage of the Nova power. The deck doesn't have to revolve around the destroy archetype to take advantage of Nova, and that's why the card is so good. So I would put Nova on the A tier. Quicksilver is contesting with other cards for the worst card in the game. I don't like Quicksilver. Maybe there's going to be one nerd that comes to me and say you're wrong because I ran a statistical analysis and Quicksilver gives you a something percentage of drawing what you want. And you know what? Maybe they are right and I am wrong. But in my experience, Quicksilver sucks dick. So I will put it in the D tier. I don't like this card at all. Rocket Raccoon. Now, when we are looking at Rocket Raccoon, we are looking at a card that shares the same ability with all of the Guardians of the Galaxy. And that is that when you play the card in a lane, if the opponent plays a card there, your card gets a buff. It is the same as Star-Lord, it is the same as Gamora and as Drax. So we could be evaluating the whole bunch at the same tier. And the tier will be that they suck. I don't like that ability. Let's look at from a probability by a probability standpoint. There are 3 lanes. If you play the card, your opponent has a 33% of playing a card there. You know? So you had a 66% of not triggering the ability. You're going to tell me, but we can kind of know where they are going to play or because of their previous plays or because of the location. And you are right. So let's say I bumped that 33% to 40% because you have some knowledge of the game. You still are looking at a card that 60% of the time doesn't trigger his ability. So 60% of the time Rocket Raccoon will be a 1-2 and 40% of the time he will be a 1-4, I believe, a 1-5, and that's pretty good. But it will happen not a lot, you know. But I had to be honest, from the Guardian of the Galaxy cards, I believe Rocket Raccoon is the better one because at one cost you can risk knowing where they are going to play, and a lot of times you will be able to do it because at the start of the game it is easier to predict those abilities. So I will place Rocket Raccoon higher than the other Guardians of the Galaxy, but not on the A tier either. I'm going to put him in B, and now you know that the other Guardians of the Galaxy aren't going to land there because they are worse than Rocket Raccoon. So we have a Squirrel Girl. A Squirrel Girl is cool under the right circumstances, and under the wrong circumstances, she sucks. So there's not much to say about this card. She can help you push power in another lane if the lane is locked. She can take power from cards as Patriot and even something like Blue Marvel. She can be cool, but she isn't anything so great, so she goes into the B position. I don't know how to pronounce this. Is this a U? Is this a B? Watu Batu, the Watcher. Let's call him the Watcher. The Watcher can be an awesome card under the right circumstances and can be the worst card in the game under the wrong circumstances. And what are those circumstances? If you draw in on the first turn, this is one of the best cards because you know all the locations and you can take advantage of that. But if you don't draw in the first 2 turns in the game, he's a dead card and he sucks. So I don't know if I should put him in C or B because he can be really good, but most of the time he isn't that good, you know. I believe I should put him in C because yes, his ability is awesome, but more often than not you won't trigger his ability, so I will put him in C. Yondu, I like Yondu a lot. I like the originality of his ability, and he's cool to watch when he triggers the ability, but we are looking here at the power of the card, not at how cool the card is, you know. But I also believe that Yondu is pretty powerful. First, you can snipe an America Chavez with Yondu, but also you can, when you destroy the card, they show you what card you are destroying. So that can be pretty good at knowing what deck they are playing. You get inside knowledge of their deck, and that knowledge can be pretty powerful. And it is a 1-2 as the same as the other one drops. Now, is that enough to put it in the A tier? I don't think so. But nevertheless, I still like Yondu a lot. He gives you knowledge of the enemy, but he also kinda thins out their deck. So I'm going to put him in the B category, but I will put him in the first. I know I'm not ordering them by power, but I will put them there so you know that I like Yondu a lot. Now we have Angela. Angela is definitely one of the strongest cards in the pool 1. And another card that I am struggling knowing if I should put her in the S tier or in the A tier. Because he is only a 2-cost card, and just in a basic scenario, she can get 7 power. And if you play her with a Nightcrawler and you move the Nightcrawler, she's a 9 power card for just 2 energy. You can trigger her a lot. And there are locations that benefit her, like cloning bats, that make you trigger her even more because you copper herself. She's a great card, a lot of power for few energy, and her ability can be stopped. It isn't an ongoing or an on-reveal ability. The opponent has to see her trigger and can't do anything about it. I like it. The thing is, Angela is kinda good, or is pretty strong in decks that play a lot of cards. Not so much in decks that rely on specific combos and that don't play a lot of cards. That's why I don't know if I should put her in the S tier. So again, I will put her high in the A tier, but she is definitely one of the best cards of the pool 1. Armor. With Armor we find a pretty cool card that has a strong ability and that finds a place in a lot of powerful decks. Armor has a cool stat line for the ability that she has, so I believe that she should land definitely in the A tier. Cable. I like Cable a lot. Why? Because Cable gives you knowledge about the deck that the opponent is playing. Some people underestimate the power of that ability. If you know what the opponent is playing, you kinda know how to react at the later turns. You know when to snap, you know if you should retreat. You can even know what will their play be in the later turns. So that ability is pretty strong, and you can even use the card that you get. But at the same time, his stat line isn't that good. Sometimes what you steal doesn't really tell you much, so I can't put in that higher either. So I will put him in the B position. He's cool. It's one of my favorite cards, but let's be real, he belongs in the B tier. Carnage. Carnage sees a lot of play, and just by that we can see that he's a pretty cool card, because he can find a spot on several decks, on a Destroy deck, on a General Destroy deck, on a Deathwave deck, on a Destroyer deck, and even more. Even you can slam Nova Carnage in a Zoo deck, and that is a pretty cool play, you know. So Carnage is awesome, bro. You maybe see a Carnage played 4 or 5 games in a row, so you know he's a cool card, and I have to put them in the A tier. Now we have Colossus. Colossus is cool. I like the card. He has an ongoing ability, which is cool in an ongoing deck. He can also be played in a movement deck if you don't want him to get moved. But at the same time, he's kind of meh. He's mid, you know. He's a normal card, so I will put him in the B tier. Next we have Domino. Domino sucks in my opinion. Does she suck as much as Quicksilver? In my opinion, she doesn't suck as much as Quicksilver. I don't know why. Maybe turn 2 is better to have the card, and 3 power is better than 2. But I prefer Domino than Quicksilver, but she isn't as good either, so I will place her in the C tier. Now we have Forge. Forge can be good under the right circumstances, but most of the time he sucks. He just gives 1 extra power, I believe, or even if he gives 2, it isn't that great for 2 power. And he sees plays mostly on the movement deck, and movement decks suck right now. I'll be honest, I don't like Forge. Even if some people think that he's great, I will place him in the C tier. Kraven. Kraven can be great, but most of the time he sucks. He was buffed and he's better than before, that's for sure. He can see play on the movement deck, but he can see play on a deck that I like a lot and I featured in this channel, the Kingpin deck. You can check that video out. I will try to place the thing in the top so you can check that deck out. Pretty strong and fun deck, and Kraven can be played there easily and he's strong there, but at the same time he isn't that strong. He doesn't suck, but he isn't good either, so I will place him in the B tier because you can probably trigger one or twice, but that isn't enough to give him a higher placing, you know. Lizard is one of those cards that can really suck or can really shine, but most of the time he will suck. But it's one of those cards that I don't know why I like. Maybe it's because I like the character, maybe it's because I like the artwork, but I like Lizard. And more often than not, you will find that you can kinda tell when the opponent is going to play a lot of cards in the Lizard lane. And maybe you can even use Lizard to bait the opponent to play cards in the Lizard lane and you won't commit in the Lizard lane, you know. Lizard allows for a lot of mind games, and he's now a 5, not a 4, by the way. So you can get a lot of power from Lizard for a little commitment, you know. So I like Lizard a lot, and there is an interaction with Enchantress when you can, if you play Enchantress in the Lizard lane, you deactivate the bad ongoing ability, and he is a 2-5 for sure. So for some people, Lizard may belong in the C tier. To me personally, he can belong to the A tier, but because of the balance and consistency, I will place him in the B tier. Now we have Medusa. Medusa is an staple on the pool 1 card, on the pool 1 deck for unreveal abilities, and she is very strong on that deck. But outside of that deck, she doesn't really see a lot of play. I intended to place her in the B tier, but if I really think about it, she only is played on that deck, and that deck isn't that strong either. It is a cool pool 1 deck, but when you are getting more pool 2 cards, you try to go to another deck and even replace Medusa with something with an unrevealed more powerful. So I will put Medusa in the C tier just because of that. I like the card. She offers a lot of points if you play her middle and if you trigger the unreveal again, but outside of that, she doesn't offer a lot. You won't find her in a lot of decks, so I will place him in the C tier. Then we have Mr. Sinister. There are a lot of people that love Mr. Sinister. They play him in a lot of decks. They play him in the Patriot deck, they play him in the Unreveal deck. But I'll be honest, when I played Mr. Sinister, he sucks. I haven't seen any success playing Mr. Sinister. Maybe it is me that sucks and I don't know how to play him, but I can't find success with Mr. Sinister. I don't like him. He clogs your lane, he doesn't let you play anything more there, he doesn't offer a lot of power, so I will place him in the C tier because I don't really like Mr. Sinister. Multiple Man, a pretty cool card that can offer a lot of points if you are able to trigger him a lot, but let's be honest, he mostly is played on the movement deck. He has seen play in other decks like the Cerebro 3 deck, but he is mostly played on the movement deck. But he's a powerful card that can be played outside of the movement deck, and I like him a lot. But is he a A tier material? I don't think so, but he is B tier material for sure. Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch is a great card. She can get you out of bad locations that are harmful to your deck, you know, to your combo or to your archetype. And she can take you out of there. She can even take away a good location for the opponent's deck, you know. She can turn the tides of the game. The problem with the Scarlet Witch is that she's also RNG, and maybe she can give you a location that is worse than what you had. And that's the thing that I don't like. So Scarlet Witch should be an A tier because the control that she offers is insane. Being able to flip a location is one of the strongest abilities in this game. So I should put her in the A tier. But since I've had a lot of bad experience because the RNG gives me a lot of crappy locations and I end worse than what I had, I will put her in the B tier. This is kind of personal, but you could assume that I put her in the A tier. Sentinel. Ooh, Sentinel is such a cool card. When I looked at Sentinel for the first time, when I didn't even play the game, just when the game was announced the first time several months ago, my first impression was that Sentinel was going to suck because it was going to clog your hand. Well, I was extremely wrong because Sentinel is cool and he can trigger other abilities like the Collector, and you always have a 2-3 card in hand that you can rely on if you don't draw something better. So Sentinel's ability is pretty strong. Now, he doesn't find a lot of play in a lot of different decks because there is always something better to play. He only really sees plays in something with the Collector or in something with Devil Dino that you wanna keep cards in hand. So Devil Dino has a lot of power. So he can ascend to A tier, but he's B tier material for sure. Now we have the Shocker, and with the Shocker we had the same problem as Misty Knight. He has a cool stat line, but he doesn't have any ability. So he kinda sucks, but he's good on the Patriot deck. And just because of that, he can't fall to the D tier. If the Patriot deck sucked, for sure Shocker is a D tier, but the Patriot deck is pretty good right now in this moment in time. Maybe later he will suck. So I will put Shocker in the C tier. And yes, you could say, but Shocker sucks more than Mr. Sinister or Medusa, and you are right. But is he dog shit tier as Quicksilver? He could if you play him alone, but in a Patriot deck he's strong, so he belongs in the C tier. And then we have a Star-Lord, and as I said earlier, the Guardians of the Galaxy ability sucks. I put Rocket Raccoon in the B tier because Rocket Raccoon is the better of the bunch. You can predict a lot what the opponent is going to play on the first turn. Almost always people play on the rebuild lane. But the Star-Lord is more difficult to predict. He isn't that great. 60% of the time you won't be able to predict it, and you will end up with a 2-2, which is pretty crappy. So I will leave Star-Lord in the C tier. Now we have Wolverine. For some people, Wolverine is one of the worst cards in the game. And I don't agree, but there is some truth to that. Wolverine isn't that great either. But if you are able to discard Wolverine, he's pretty good. If you are able to discard Wolverine, he's pretty good because you get a card for free. And in some destroy decks, if you play a Deadlock, not a Deadlock sucks in that case, but if you play a Carnage, Wolverine is great. And if you play a Venom, Wolverine is great because you take that power, but the card survives in another lane. But these are like not so likely scenarios, you know, and most of the time you won't be able to do that, and he is just a 2-3. And in the discard archetype, he's not played a lot because some people want to discard something else. That's why Wolverine isn't that good. Personally, I say he's a B tier because I think he has potential if you know how to play him. But for most of the people, he's a C tier card. And yes, I'm tempted to put him in the C tier. But just know that for me personally, he's a B tier card. But let's be honest, in practice, in how we see how the tier are working, how the meta is developing, Wolverine is kinda C tier card. Bishop. Bro, I wanna put Bishop in the S tier. I love Bishop. I believe Bishop is one of the strongest cards in the deck, even after their nerf. If you see the image here, he's a 3-2, but he was a 3-2. Now he's a 3-1, and he still is pretty powerful. I love Bishop, bro. Bishop is better than Angela because Angela can only be triggered in her own lane, but Bishop is triggered in every lane. So you can end up triggering Bishop a lot of times if you have the correct cards. and he can develop to be a pretty big card. He's easy to play, he's easy to trigger, he doesn't have a lot of counters because you can't remove his ability because it isn't an ongoing ability. Again, I don't know if I should put him in the S tier because yes, he's 3 energy, maybe you don't find him in the 3 turn, but bro, this is a great ability, this is a great card. I will put him definitely in the S tier because you know what, among the pool 1 cards, he's one of the better cards definitely, and in the big scheme of things on all the cards, he is among the best cards in the game. So I will put Bishop in the S tier, and yes, he's an absolute great card because in the worst of cases you could argue that he's a high A, you know, and I'm okay with that. Captain America is a good card for sure. He finds a place on the ongoings archetype, on the onslaught archetype, and on the spectrum archetype, and his ability is pretty good, but it only affects his own lane. So if you take into consideration his own power, he will offer in the best of scenarios, if you fill up your lane, 6 power for 3 mana. And his ability can be taken away by a rogue or by an enchantress or by a bad location. And if you wanna buff that ability, you have to play an onslaught on his lane, or maybe you could play an spectrum elsewhere. The spectrum deck is pretty powerful. I like the spectrum deck a lot, but sometimes people believe that other cards are better than Captain America in that deck. So that makes me not wanna put him in the A tier, but just in the B tier, because he's a cool card, but not as powerful as the ones we have in the A tier, you know. Now Cosmo is an A tier card for sure. We don't even have to talk about it, bro. Cosmo is an A tier card. You can deny a lot of plays with Cosmo, and you can even do some things at your favor. If you wanna play a destroyer, you play Cosmo Fear, you play your own destroyer on the Cosmo lane, and now he doesn't destroy anything. That is a great combo. If you know that the opponent is going to play Summon Reveals, you can play Cosmo. Your opponent play a Wong, you play Cosmo on the Wong lane. Now he can reveal anything on the Wong lane. You have a big card that you want to protect, you play Cosmo in the big card lane. Now he can't Shang-Chi your lane. Cosmo is a really good card that can control the game and can control a lane by not letting that on reveal happen on that lane. You can play in a Kamatage if you believe the opponent has more on reveals than you. Cosmo is a great card. He's undoubtedly an A tier and very high on the A tier. I'm not ordering them, but just know that he's one of the most powerful cards here. Now we have Cyclops. Cyclops, again, it falls in the same category as Misty Knight and Shocker. He's a cool card in the Patriot deck, but outside of the Patriot deck, he sucks dick. And now we look at Misty Knight and 1-2 plus the buff from Patriot, that's pretty good. We look at Shocker and the 2-3 plus the buff from the Patriot is pretty good. But now we have Cyclops that costs 3, and now we have diminishing returns because he will get the same power as Misty Knight and the same power as Shocker for more energy spent. And I don't mean that they will end up with the same power, but that they get the same power from the Patriot or from the Patriot plus Mystique combo, you know. And at 3 mana, if you have a Patriot and you have a Mystique, you want to play them instead of a Cyclops. He can still find a place in that deck, but most people cut him out, even of the deck that he's better designed for. So that's why I will put Cyclops in the D tier. And I like Cyclops, bro. He's a cool character. The card has an awesome design, and when you are going to play him, the beam that shoots out is a great animation. And I'm sorry that I have to put in there, but this is the reality. He only is good on one deck, and even in that deck, some people cut him out because he isn't that good in that deck either. So what else could I do, bro? Now we have Deathlock. Deathlock is great in some archetypes and he's useless in other types of archetypes, but in the ones he's good, he's really good. And of course we are talking about some types of destroy deck. He can destroy a hood and remove the -2. He can even destroy, if your opponent give you some Green Goblin, Deathlock can destroy him. He can destroy things that are good when they are destroyed, like a Bounce, like a Noah. And he offers a lot of power for little energy, and his abilities, if you are smart, you can play the ability to your advantage. So it isn't much of a drawback, so I will place him in the B tier. He's played a lot, he finds a lot of decks to play. He could arguably be placed on the A tier if you want, but since he's only really played on Destroy archetypes, I'm gonna leave him in the B tier. Doctor Strange. At this point in time, Doctor Strange only finds play in the movement deck. And he's really good there because you can move a boost multiple man, you can move a Vulture and get a lot of power from him. But outside of that, Doctor Strange isn't played anywhere. I once saw him be played on the 2-cost archetype from the Cerebro deck, but even there he isn't played that much. It's 3 energy for 2 power. You have to really play smartly his ability, which isn't that great if you don't move something that takes advantage of that movement. So I don't really like Doctor Strange, I'll be honest. Cool character and all, but this card sucks and I will place it in the C tier. Now we have Groot, and we, again, a Guardian of the Galaxy card. It sucks. 60% of the time you won't get the buff. And yes, this is one of the hardest ones to pull off, because at this point in time, when you have 3 energy, it is harder to know where your opponent is going to play. I don't like Groot. I believe it is one of the worst Guardians of the Galaxy, but we all know that the worst one is Drax. I'm tempted to put him in the D tier because he isn't played in any deck. You won't find a deck, a competitive deck, a meta deck that has Groot. Because you could find a place for a Star-Lord in a budget deck, you could find a place for Rocket Raccoon in a budget deck, but you won't find a place for Groot. Groot just sucks. So I will place Groot in the D tier. Hulkbuster. Hulkbuster is a cool card in theory, because he allows you to play extra cards in the same lane. He has a great synergy with cards like Angela, and you could find an export for Hulkbuster in your budget deck, but he finds his best spot in a movement deck, because you can attach Hulkbuster to something like a multiple man, and then you move Hulkbuster, the multiple man with the Hulkbuster, and now you have 2 powerful 7-cost cards for little energy. But let's be honest, this combo doesn't happen a lot, even on the movement deck. And even when it happens, the movement deck isn't that great. So I can't place Hulkbuster that high, but he's at least a B tier, so we'll put him there. Ironheart. I love Ironheart, bro. Ironheart is a great card. Ironheart has an unreveal ability that gives +2 power to 3 of your cards. That means that at the very least, she offers 6 points, 6 power for 3 energy, which is great stat lines, you know. The thing is, she has an unreveal ability, which means she can take advantage of stuff like the location camouflage. She can take advantage of the Wong ability. She can take advantage of the Odin ability. So if you see Ironheart is great, she can take advantage even of the location that copies her, how Sinister London, that copies the card, you know. So I like Ironheart a lot. I believe she can find a place in a lot of decks, not only on the unrevealed decks. So, and she even has a place in the Exodia deck. If you can find your Gambito, if you can find the Hazmat, you can find an Ironheart and just push an insane amount of power. So I will put Ironheart in the A tier because she's great and she has a place in a lot of decks. Now we have Lady Sif. Lady Sif recently was nerfed because she was too awesome. And guess what? She continues to be awesome because you can target the highest cost card in your deck with the discard. And most of the time you wanna do that because you know what card you are discarding. With a Hela deck, you wanna discard the highest cost card because you wanna bring that card back with your Hela. On a Ghost Rider deck, you wanna discard your highest card because you wanna bring that card back with your Ghost Rider. On an Apocalypse deck, you wanna discard your Apocalypse and bring his power up. So Lady Sif offers you all good things. She has a lot of power for little energy because supposedly discarding is something bad, but in the case of Lady Sif, discarding is something good. So we will place her in the A tier for sure, because you can confidently discard something that you wanna discard. She sees a lot of play in a lot of competitive decks, so we will put Lady Sif in the A tier. Now we have Mr. Fantastic. I like Mr. Fantastic a lot. He offers power in several lanes at the same time. You can control how that power is going to be distributed, but let's be honest, in the best of scenarios, he offers 6 points for 3 energy. That's cool stat lines, but it's distributed into 2 and 2, which isn't a lot. He has an ongoing ability which can be dismantled by the enemy, but it is also a plus if you play him in the Spectrum deck, because you can buff him later with the Spectrum, and he's cool in an ongoing deck with an Onslaught, so he's kinda good, he's kinda bad. So we will place him in the B tier for sure. Morph. Some people like Morph because he can tell you what the opponent has in hand, and let's be honest, that is cool strategically, because you kinda know what the opponent has, and that is good for you, but not always he will be able to copy something great, and he's kinda unreliable. I don't like Morph. I don't think this card synergizes very well with a lot of other cards. He doesn't see play in a lot of meta decks, so for me, Morph isn't that good, and I will place him in the C tier. The Punisher. The Punisher, you can think of him something like an Ironheart. She offers 6 power for 3 points. And the Punisher, in the best case scenario, offers the same 6 points for 3 power. But that relies on the opponent playing the Punisher deck, the Punisher lane. If he doesn't play on the Punisher lane, you won't get your 6 power. Plus, that is an ongoing ability, so the opponent can dismantle the ability with an Enchantress or with a Rogue. The Ironheart ability is an on-reveal, which means you can take advantage of that with a wand and with an Odin. The Punisher ability isn't that great to be played with an Onslaught, so you don't take that much advantage. He can be buffed by a Spectrum, of course, but again, the ability can be manipulated by the enemy. I don't like that much, so I will place him in the B tier. He isn't that bad, but he isn't as good as the Ironheart, so I can't really put him in the same tier. Now we have the Swordmaster. The Swordmaster offers a lot of points for little energy, and he discards a card. Now, since the discarding that Swordmaster does is random, it is not targeted as Lady Sif, it is less reliable, because sometimes you will discard something that you don't want to discard. But since he offers a lot of power, he's really played on discard archetypes, and he's a pretty cool card, so I will place him in the B tier for sure. Now we have Wolfsbane. Wolfsbane is great in on-reveal decks. She's great on Su decks. She can put a lot of power if you trigger her on reveal 2 times, or if you trigger her in a lane that has already played 3 cards. She can push a lot of power in a single lane, but outside of that, she's kinda meh. Sometimes you will have her in hand with no other option to play, and she can only buff with 1 card, which will bring her to a 3/3, and that sucks. Sometimes you won't be able to trigger her again with an Odin, and in those cases that sucks. And the fact that she's only really played in the Odin deck also brings us to the question that maybe she isn't that good, but she isn't back to a C tier, so we will put her again in the B tier. Enchantress is one of the best cards, not only of pool 1 but in the game. She's a really strong control card that can be played to dismantle the enemy, and can also be played to help you out if you had bad ongoing abilities, like the lizard ability, and even later if you discover a red skull, she can be played on a red skull lane to remove the bad ongoing ability. If you have an electro, she can dismantle the electro so you can play more than one card a turn. So she can even help you out. But moreover, she can dismantle the energy. If they play a Ronan, if they play a Devil Dino, some powerful ongoing abilities, you dismantle them with the Enchantress. So yes, I like Enchantress. She offers a pretty good start line for the powerful effect that she provides. So she's definitely at least an A tier card, and I'm tempted, and I mean really tempted to place her in the S tier, because she's just strong and you can put her in almost every deck. Not all decks include her because there is a struggle when you need another card, you know. But there isn't a deck where you can put her, you know. If you are missing one card from a deck, you can place her there and she'll be cool, you know. She's a very strong card. And among the pool 1 cards, she's definitely one of the better ones. Jessica Jones, a strong ability, a lot of points for what she costs, but you kind of reveal to the opponent that you aren't going to play anything in her lane, and that is a pretty strong drawback from you, because you are telling the opponent kind of what you're going to do on the 5th turn, which is a pretty important turn. So she can be A tier just because of that, so we will place her in the B tier. Khazar, one of the strongest cards of pool 1. He finds a place in a lot of decks. He can find a place on a Zoo deck. He can find a place on an ongoing deck or an Spectrum deck. He's pretty cool. He offers a lot of power, a strong ongoing ability. He for sure belongs in the A tier, no discussion there. Monger. Monger used to be one of the best cards before the nerfs to her and to Devil Dino, and now she isn't as strong. She isn't D tier either, but she isn't as strong. She sees only really play on Devil Dino's deck or on the Collector's deck, so she isn't as good either. I would like to place her in the B tier, but let's be honest, she doesn't see that much play as the B tier cards, so we will place her in the C tier because that's where she belongs right now. Neymar. Neymar seems a cool card if you are a noob, but after you play this game a lot, you know that ability isn't as strong because you don't want to have only one card in a lane, and if you do, you want something bigger than what Neymar offers, because your opponent is going to take over that lane if you only play Neymar there. You reveal to them that you don't plan on playing more cards there, and if you end up playing cards there because you are going to lose the lane, then you are playing a 4-5, which sucks. And if I'm honest, I would love to put him in the D tier, but he isn't as bad as the ones that are here, so I will put him in the C tier. A strong guy. A strong guy used to be a pretty strong guy. He was awesome, and then they nerfed him, and they nerfed the entire archetype that he played in, which was the one where you played your entire hand or discard your entire hand. So a strong guy got an extreme buff when that happened, but that isn't the case anymore. He can't be as easily triggered as before, and he can find a lot of cool archetypes for him. But if you can trigger him, he's a pretty strong card. He's between a B and a C, I don't really know. I'm tempted to put him in C, but he can be really good if you know how to trigger him. But if you don't trigger him, he's just a 4-4. If you manage to trigger him, he's great, he's awesome. A lot of points for low cost. But if you don't trigger him, he sucks. And when you play him, the opponent knows what's coming, and maybe he can do something about it. So yes, I will put him in the B tier, but know that he could easily be in the C tier just because his ability isn't as easy to trigger as before anymore, and because you reveal to the opponent what your plans are. The thing is cool again because he doesn't have any ability on the Patriot deck, but the Patriot deck is pretty good. But even in the Patriot deck, sometimes he's caught out. Is the thing as bad as Cyclops? I don't think so. Because the thing can be really good, 644 in the worst case scenario. Isn't great, but it isn't that bad either. And you can buff him with the Patriot deck, and the Patriot deck is kinda good. But he sometimes could even from that deck, which is his strongest deck. So we will place him in the C tier because he's an as bad as Cyclops, so he doesn't believe in the D. White Queen. White Queen offers a great ability because she tells you what your opponent is playing, what he has in hand. She tells you what the highest cost card is in the opponent's hand. And you know, if she steals a Heimdall, you know that he has a Heimdall, an Onslaught, an Odin. You know what his plans are, and that is pretty valuable. Now, stat line, she isn't that great, and she doesn't find a spot in a lot of decks, but she finds a spot in the Devil Dino deck. I feature that deck. I will leave the thing up here if you wanna check out that deck. Pretty strong, cool, and fun deck, and she finds a spot in that deck. And she synergizes well with Devil Dino, she synergizes well with the Collector. That is pretty cool, I recommend her in that deck. And the insight of knowing what your opponent has is pretty good, but she only is good in that deck really, so I will put her in the B tier. But I like that card a lot because I believe that the abilities that let you know what the opponent is playing are really strong. Abomination, another card that is good with a Patriot deck, doesn't have any ability, offers a lot of points, and the things are very better in this end of the curve, but still not a great card. I would place Abomination in the C tier. Great with Patriot, sucks outside of that deck, but it's better than Cyclops definitely. Blue Marvel, excellent card, finds play in a lot of decks, in a Zoo deck, in an ongoing deck, in a Spectrum deck, in a Cerebro deck. Blue Marvel is a great card. I love Blue Marvel. Blue Marvel sucked at 6 energy, but since he's been 5 energy, it's one of my favorite cards, so we will place Blue Marvel in the A tier for sure. Devil Dino. Devil Dino used to be a 3-cost card, and he was definitely the best card, not in the pool 1, in the game. But he has been nerfed twice, if I remember correctly, and now he costs 5 energy. And you know what? He's still pretty strong. If you know how to play Devil Dino, he's really strong. And Devil Dino not only finds a place in his own deck where you wanna have a lot of cards, he's also played in other type of decks where you play few cards and you all control decks that you play 1 card a turn. Maybe you play a Sandman, maybe you play an Electro, and Devil Dino is pretty strong on those type of decks. Devil Dino also finds a place playing him with Arnim Sola that can copy Devil Dino. And if you are new to the game, maybe you don't know the cards I'm mentioning because they are pull 3 cards, but you just gotta know that Devil Dino is a good card that finds a lot of play even after being nerfed twice. So Devil Dino belongs to the A tier. I like this card a lot. Gamora, as we said with all the Guardians of the Galaxy, Gamora sucks. I will place her in the C tier. I don't care. Some people will say you can play her with Daredevil and she's better. I don't care. Even in the Daredevil archetype, Gamora sucks dick. And now we have Iron Man. And if you are a smart enough person, you know where Iron Man is gonna land. And Iron Man is gonna land here. Iron Man is an S card for sure. One of the strongest cards in the entire game. Not only pool 1. Iron Man is one of the best cards in the game. He doubles the power of a lane. That is an insanely cool ability. And you can buff that incredibly with other cards. You can buff that with an Onslaught. You can buff that with an Onslaught Citadel, the location. Iron Man can bring a lot of points and he can turn the tides of a location. Maybe you're losing a location and you don't think you can win it. The opponent has a lot of points there and Iron Man can turn back that location. And he's a pull 1 card. I'm amazed that he's so strong so early in the game. Iron Man is definitely an S tier card and one of the best in the games. If this was a tier list of all the cards in the game, Iron Man will land in S tier again. He's only an S tier on the pool 1. He's an S tier in the entire game. You have to know that Iron Man is pretty strong. Now we have Claw. I like Claw. Claw is a great control tool. You can push power in another lane. You can manipulate the battlefield. It is an ongoing ability that can take advantage of Onslaught and can take advantage of a Spectrum. Yes, he can be dismantled by Rogue or by Enchantress, but he is a pretty cool card. I don't know if I should put him in the B or in the A category. I'll be honest, I will put him in the B category because he doesn't see a lot of play, even in the ongoing decks. But if it were up to me, my personal taste, I will place them in the A tier because I like him a lot. But if I'm trying to be objective, even in the decks that he's good at, some people cut him out, you know. So because of that, I will just place him in the B tier. Professor X, another great control tool. Great control tool that finds a lot of play in a lot of different archetypes and a lot of different decks. He could be an S tier card. The problem with Professor X is that he is a double-edged sword. Professor X could win you a game, but also could lose you a game. And if you ever play against one of those bots that reads your play before you make them, Professor X will screw you every time because they know what you are doing and they will predict it and they will screw you, you know. But playing against humans, he's pretty strong. One of the strongest effects on the game. He can easily win you a lane and a game. So I will landing in the A spot. Even if he can't lose you a game. Even that way, he's an A tier card because that ability is just too strong. Spider-Woman. Spider-Woman is cool. She used to be a lot worse, but she was recently buffed. I like her stat line and I like her ability. But let's be honest, she only sees plays on the unrevealed or in deck. And even then, when you climb higher on the collectors, on the collection track, some people call her out for something else. So even in that deck, she doesn't see a lot of play. I will place her in the B tier because she's kinda cool. But even in her best deck, sometimes she's caught out. But a strong card nevertheless. White Tiger. White Tiger is great. White Tiger sees a lot of play in the Orin unrevealed deck. Sometimes even in other decks, she's one of the best pool 1 cards. If you are just starting out on the game and you only have one pool 1 cards, White Tiger will be one of your better cards. Maybe you want to include her in your decks. And she's strong in all tiers of the game, in all pools. So I will place her in the A tier because I like White Tiger a lot. You can push power in locked lanes, maybe Sanctum Sanctorum or something that was flipped with a Storm. So I like White Tiger a lot. She goes well with Wong, she goes well with Kamartash, she goes well with Odin, so I like her in the A position. America Chavez is definitely one of the best cards. Before she was nerfed, you look here that she's a 6'10", but that is no longer the case. She was nerfed to 6'9", I believe. And that took away a little power from her, not a lot. The strong thing about America Chavez is that he makes your deck consistent. That means that you know that you will always draw her in the 6th turn. Always draw her in the 6th turn. And that makes your other draws easier to pull because she can be drawn, you know, and that makes it that you draw more consistently all your other cards. And that is a really strong ability and she offers good stat lines. If she wasn't nerfed, I will place her in the S tier because the ability is pretty cool and she is strong. But since she was nerfed, people are playing her less and are finding more strong combinations, so I will place her in the A tier. Apocalypse. Apocalypse is strong, is in his discard archetype, but outside of the discard archetype, he sucks. And even in the discard archetype, some people don't even play him. Just have him in hand so Dracula can discard him. Because he can really be discarded, so he doesn't synergize with Hela. So he is played in some discards archetype and not in all. So he doesn't belong in A tier, despite the fact that he's a cool card, very good design card, and cool character. Apocalypse doesn't belong in the A tier. He belongs in the B tier. Heimdall. Heimdall is a hard card to rate because he has a powerful ability, he has a good stat line, but in practice he sucks. He only sees play on the move archetype, on the movement archetype, and even then it isn't that good because even if you play a lot the movement deck, you don't really know how things are gonna end up. What I mean is the math is difficult to calculate, you know, to do the math in your head of how things are gonna end up. Sometimes the movement is clunky, you don't know what is going to move, what isn't going to move, how much things are gonna end up with power, you know, and it is pretty inconsistent too. If you don't draw Heimdall, the deck loses a lot of power, and it isn't played outside the movement deck. But the ability is strong and his stat line is strong, so he will end up in the B tier. He could end up lower, but because he's a staple on the movement deck, and basically the whole deck revolves around him, you have to put him at least in B tier. It sucks that such a cool character and cool ability lands up there, but in practice, this is the case definitely. The Hulk, you can maybe say, well, the Hulk faced the same destiny as the Abomination and the Thing and all the Patriot deck cards. But that isn't the case because here we see the Hulk as 6'11", but the Hulk is a 6'12". He was buffed. And the Hulk offers a lot of points for the energy that he costs. He's the same as a Magneto, which is a pull 3 card, but without an ability. Magneto has an ability of moving things, which sometimes it isn't that great of an ability either. Sometimes it is great, don't get me wrong, but sometimes it isn't that great of an ability either. That means Hulk is pretty strong. So Hulk doesn't belong on the same tier as Misty Knight and as the Thing and as Abomination. He belongs a tier higher, so I will put Hulk on the B tier because Hulk is better. Hulk is very good because Hulk can be played outside the Patriot deck. You can use slamming in any deck because he provides a lot of power. He's a finisher card, so he's good, you know. You can play Hulk safely, bro. Maybe he could even, for some people and for some decks, be an A tier card, but for me and for now, he's a B tier card. Now we have Odin. Odin is a great card, bro. Odin is really, really good. I would be tempted to place Odin on the S tier if we were taking into consideration only pull 1 cards. He's definitely an S tier because he's one of the better cards. But I told you that I was taking into consideration the whole game. And in that case, Odin doesn't cut it, you know. In that case, Odin doesn't get to the S tier, but he's a top A for sure, bro. Odin is an awesome card. He can trigger twice your own reveals, and that can turn into a lot of points if you have the correct on reveal abilities. And if you have a Wong, he will trigger twice with Wong, which can end up triggering even 4 times some reveals. It's something crazy, bro. So I recommend Odin. He's a good card. He's a staple of the unrevealed deck. He's one of the best cards to get starting out the game. You can create the unrevealed pull 1 deck. I recommended that deck on my 3 decks video, and he's great. I recommend it, so he's a high A. Onslaught. Onslaught is the same as Odin. He offers a lot of power. He offers one of the strongest abilities in the game. The drawback is that he only affects his own lane with the ongoing, and that ongoing abilities are easily counterable, you know. So I don't believe Onslaught is as strong as Odin, but that is just my opinion because Onslaught, I believe, sees a lot more play than Odin because he lands on the Spectrum archetype, he lands on his own ongoing archetype, he lands on the Cerebro archetype, he lands on the Patriot archetype. So he definitely is as good or better than Odin. So we will place him right next to Odin. He's a cool card. And then we have a Spectrum. A Spectrum really only see place in one deck. But you know what? That deck is really strong. That was the deck that the first video that I uploaded to this channel was the Spectrum deck. And I believe you can easily climb to infinite playing the Spectrum deck. Even if she doesn't see play in any other deck and just on the Spectrum ongoing deck, that deck is so strong and you can get to infinite easily with that deck that I will place her in the A tier. And this, guys, is my tier list. As I said earlier, you can see that it roughly follows a normal distribution as it should be, and these are all logical choices. But I have to tell you, I intended to move Nightcrawler to the S tier because he's awesome, bro. Yes, Angela and AntMan are strong too, but I believe Nightcrawler is stronger, you know. He doesn't provide as many points, but he's a card that is played in 80% of decks. I don't know, he's insane. He provides a lot of stuff. I will leave him in the A tier because it is pretty controversial to have a Nightcrawler in the S tier. But just know that he could be easily be in the S tier, you know. And all these 5 cards, Nightcrawler, Odin, Onslaught, Angela, and AntMan, could be in the S tier for sure. But I will leave them in the high A tier. Maybe imagine there is some in between tier here, between S and A, something like A+, and they are there. They are great cards. So yes, this is my tier list. I hope this tier list helps you knowing what cards are strong and what cards and decks to play. That it helps you with your deck building abilities. If you are starting out the game and you only have pool 1, you know what pool 1 cards are worth pursuing and are worth using. Forget about these cards, the C and D tier, they suck, and just focus on the S, A, and B tier for your deck building of pool 1. And yes, bro, have fun. I hope this helps you out and that you had fun listening to me ramble about the cards in the game. Thank you very much, bro. If you are still here, thank you very much. You're awesome. I hope you enjoyed the tier list and all the things that I said. I hope that it helped you learn more about the game and the cards and the deck. And if you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. I upload videos about Marvel Snap every day. I also stream live on Twitch. You can follow me there and come hang out and play with me. I will leave the link down in the description. It is called Yazarus, the same as this channel. You can also follow me on Twitter. I post there whenever I upload a video and whenever I go live. So you can follow me there too. I will leave the link down in the description. And yes, bro, you are awesome. Thank you very much for watching. You don't know how much that means to me. And remember, as the great Bill Hicks said, this is just a ride.